Just I think just the being able to look out there and see the difference from this time last year, as far as just how much cleaner everything is, and obviously it's because obviously second year in the system, we got guys returning, those type of things. But I just feel like we're so much farther ahead, and not so much that we're doing a bunch of different things offensively, but just we're so much farther ahead in the basics and fundamentals of what we're trying to do and want to do. So that's probably the thing I'm just happiest about, because it'll just allow us to continue to grow over the summer and into fall camp.
On the opposite side of that, what do you want to improve on as you're heading?
Yeah, I think we just got to be more consistent. When the lights come on, certain whatever it is, a situational scrimmage or period of practice, or a scrimmage in the stadium. Those times, like, you see them do it all week in practice and out on the practice field. Well, nothing should change when we step inside the stadium. And so just from a consistency standpoint, I think our guys got to just understand that we got a chance to be really good and we're really talented. But if we don't pay attention to the details and lock into those certain things, like, this is the most humbling game there is. And if you don't do those things, you can become average really quick. And those are things that we've got to battle, because our guys know how good we can be. And I think you got to fight some of that just, complacency. And it's easy to let your foot off the gas in certain situations when or you think that you can be pretty good. And so, we don't want to be good. We want to be great. And you got to be great every single day. And so just consistency as a whole is the thing that I think we got to continue to get better at.
Where is he feeling health-wise, and try to get him live reps Saturday?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. It's been nice. 2 months ago, I don't think any of us really thought he'd have any reps this spring. We didn't think he'd be close enough for it to be even worth it. But he was so ahead of schedule as far as just his rehab and stuff. So being able to get any reps at all has been a win already. We'll see about how Saturday goes. I think the biggest thing for him is it's been nice for him to kind of shake the rust off now, instead of him trying to do it over the summer or fall camp. And that's the thing that I'm most grateful for, probably more than anybody. But it's just been good to have him back out there, and he'll be the first to tell you, like, he missed a couple throws a day that he's going to be pissed about all night. And I'm like, dude, it's April 22nd. We'll be fine. But that's him. He's competitive, and we just got to continue to shake the rust off, and he'll be great going forward.
Have you guys figured out any of the format for the spring game yet? How you're going to divide the teams?
That's why I say they pay Blake Harrell the big money, and I'm gonna let him decide that, and I'm just gonna try and score points. So I'll do my job and let everybody else do theirs.
If y'all do split it up, will you coordinate both sides, or do you give somebody else those duties for the other team?
No, I think more than likely, if we did split it up, I'll probably call both sides, just because of just the young quarterbacks, just for their development and benefit. That way I'm on both sides and I can talk to those guys. That's probably the best thing for everybody if that's the case.
How is, it looks like Chasten's getting a decent amount of reps for true freshmen, so how would you evaluate his progress from day one now?
Just, really, really impressed by him. The thing I like most about Chasten is that you can coach him hard, and that's that's the benefit of coming where he's coming from. Obviously came from a great program at Lake Travis, and got some really great coaching down there. And so he understands the game and got coached by people that have a great grasp of the game. And so he's taking strides, and he'll do some really dumb freshman stuff that is just typical. But at the same time, like, he's put himself in a position, over and over again by doing certain things that shows you, like, he knows what he's doing. He's operating, at a level for somebody that's been here for 3.5 months. It's pretty impressive.
When it comes to the spring game on Saturday, what are some boxes you want to check off when you're looking at your offensive squad?
I think the first thing is just always, I want to stay healthy. Knock on wood. Like, want to go out there and execute and do things right. But want to stay healthy and protect the team and protect the guys around us. But, for me, it's always just establishing the run. We want to be great in the run game, and we've seen that. We've seen the difference that it makes in us as an offense. And then we want to create explosive plays and protect the football. And I say it all the time, but, it doesn't matter if it's a game, spring game, scrimmage. Those are the things that dictate any football game. And so those are the things we'll harp on and focus on because, the next time we step in a stadium, it'll be for real.
You guys lost two pretty vocal leaders in Rajay and Dustin. Just do you try to encourage guys to step up in that role, or does it happen naturally? How do you address that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think you have to you got to let some of that stuff happen naturally, but also I think you've got to force people in front of the team. You got to force people in positions and situations where they got to speak to their teammates, and I think that gets lost sometimes. I think we just expect, well, you got to be a leader. You got to be a leader. Well, he may not know how to be a leader, and so we got to make sure we do a good job and we're intentional about putting guys in position and make sure we also have people behind them to support them when they go step out and try and be a leader, because that's a hard situation. You go stand in front of your peers and try and hold people accountable. Like, that's the hardest thing. Like, it's easy to encourage somebody. It's easy to tell somebody good job. It's a hell of a lot harder to go up and tell somebody like, hey, I think you can do better. I think you can be better. So I think we got to do a good job as the summer goes, and we've got guys that can be that. We've got guys that have been here, and we got new guys that have been here for 3 months as transfers that I think have, leadership qualities that can step into some of those roles to replace, a Rajay, to replace a Dustin Hall, guys that for us last year were huge in keeping the team together and being able to finish how we finished.
It feels like y'all have more depth and talent this time compared to last year. Is there a position group that you would say is the most competitive right now?
Yeah, our receiver room is really deep, and we are really, really talented in that room. That would say that's probably the deepest, because you've got a good mix. You got a good mix of young guys that are really talented, but you got some older guys that just came in or have been here that are really talented, and they just continue to make plays, and that's what they got to do. And the more of those guys we can use, it's just like up front. Like we like to rotate guys up front too, just like we do out wide, because it keeps them fresh, and especially out wide. Like, if we can keep those guys in a rotation, keep their snap counts down, that way when it gets later in the game, like, they're fresh and they can go run down the field and make a play when they need to. So, every room is competitive, but if I had to pinpoint one, it'd definitely be that room.
Anything else? Thank you, Coach.
All right, appreciate it, guys.
One of our biggest goals that I said early on was consistency. And aside from one practice, I think we've been fairly consistent. Guys growing. When you have so many new faces, you just want to see improvement every single day. Not to say that we don't want to be ready at the end of spring, but we really just want to see the steady improvement when we're ready by game one. And so I'm really happy with the commitment they've shown to work and get better. And, that comes a lot with extra time in the film room. Comes a lot with asking your coaches questions at night and things like that. Our guys reach out a lot to us, and just really impressed with their work ethic.
What are some improvements you want to see going into the spring game?
As a defensive guy, you always think you can tackle better. I think we have get tackled better steadily, like I said about some other things, every scrimmage. I'd like to see that culminate in this last scrimmage in the spring game, and just see us line up and play with effort. We've played with effort in every scrimmage, and I'd like to see us hopefully go out there and give our fans a good show and play with great effort again.
Defensively, are you seeing any players in particular emerge as kind of like vocal leaders? Is it too early for that? And do you try and encourage that as a D coordinator?
Yeah, you look at. There's probably a guy in every room. I see. I see P. Carr in the D-line room. He does a really good job with that. Him and Zion, and then Day and Sam, and even DJ Johnson in that linebacker room do a great job. And then D-Money and Jamarly back there in the back end. Obviously, you always have Tegan Wilk that's played a lot of ball, right? So down the middle of our defense is where I see a lot of our leadership, and that's usually what you want, So there's a bunch of young guys, too, that, are starting to come out of their shell. I saw Key Crowell flash today. I was really proud of him. And just need to continue to develop leadership just like we're developing talent.
I was going to ask, it seemed like the corners contested a lot of balls lost today. I mean,
Yeah.
These receivers are really good, so do you like kind of their progression too?
Yeah, they come ready to work every single day. You know, just like I was talking about a second ago. I mean, those guys know every single day they're ready to be on their A game. You know, not only the offense we run, but how talented those guys are. So I'm really happy with how they competed today in the short practice.
With your defense, how much do you install in the spring? I think I'm too deep into the specifics, but how much were you trying to add throughout the summer?
I mean, I think there's things that you know you're going to do, and I think you always want to make sure you install those for a couple reasons. One, so you can practice it, obviously get better at it. Two, so you can evaluate, do these players fit more of, you know, like 3 calls that you might run a lot, A, B, and C. You know, you might realize, well, we're actually better at call A and call C. Call B may be more of a change-up this year or things like that. So I'd say, you know, of base downs, I'd probably say we put in probably 60 to 70% of what we're doing. You know, I don't think you get too deep into third down packages, and we do red zone in the spring, you know, and not much goal line. But, you know, base downs, you're probably talking about 60 to 70% probably. Yeah.
It all starts up front on both sides of the ball, but for your defensive front, are you seeing a lot of pressure from those guys on the quarterback?
Oh, yeah, they're doing a really good job. You know, we try to give those guys, you know, D-line's actually what I've coached the most in my career, and, you know, so I'm kind of partial to those guys, and we try to give them a lot of tools to go play fast. You know, I don't think, you know, you go ask a guy to get into a fist fight, you know, and you give him a bunch of addendums, he's probably not going to fight very, very well, right? And so I think if you can just let those guys play fast, they got a chance. So Coach Tesh and Coach Zachary do a great job with those guys, and I think they've had a good camp.
And y'all are obviously not practicing with Raheem Craig and
Yeah.
J.D. Lampley, so 2 of your better pass rushers. How
Yeah.
do you maybe account for that in the spring?
Yeah, I think it's just an opportunity for those guys to work on other things, right? Maybe the mental side of it, and develop some younger players. You know, I think of Dylon, you know, who just got here at mid-year. You know, it's been invaluable, the reps he's gotten. You know, when a freshman can come in at mid-year and get a lot of reps in spring, and they come in the fall and they've already gone to class, they've already practiced, they've already sat in the meeting rooms, right? Regardless if they actually carry the verbiage over from spring to fall, the routine of being a college athlete is something that's hard to get over as a freshman, right? The schedule and things like that. And those opportunities that he's gotten specifically in that room are invaluable. So those guys being out has even added more to his reps, right? The guy's getting a lot of reps at practice for a freshman.
How was, you know, Kendrick DeJour been? So y'all had him as a transfer from St. Lucie.
Yeah. You know, Kendrick rolls out of bed and he's a good pass rusher. You know what I mean? He's more of a slender guy that needs to develop in the run game and things like that. And he's shown today was actually probably his best day versus the run. He had a couple good plays versus the run. So just developing him as a, you know, full player, I've seen that. And then just, you know, learning just how we do things here and things like that. But I've been pleased with his progress.
Coach, you guys obviously you're practicing against a different style offense, a super up tempo. Just how comfortable do you think your guys are going to feel when they get to slow down a little bit?
Yeah, hopefully it helps us a lot, you know, because it can be frustrating at times. But I'm glad it's our team and it's the offense we run. And there'll be plenty of teams in our league that do similar things. So it'll prepare us for them, as well as if we can execute our defense. You know, we try not to just say, well, they're playing fast, so we're not going to do that. No, we try to do our defense, and if we can execute our defense for them moving with that tempo and that pace, then we should be able to execute that versus a team that doesn't play with that pace.
Kind of going off that, but I mean, it's kind of a unique deal. You'll face probably Army or Navy every year.
Yeah.
The Army this year, so is that something you start installing in the summer or just early spring? Or
You know, I think it depends sometimes, like when you play them. You know, I played in an option school, Harding University. Won the national championship 2 years ago, actually. You know, I think it depends on when you play them, right? If you play them really early, then you probably would work on it in the spring. You know, if you play them in the middle of the season, maybe not. You know what I mean? If you play them at the end of the year, it might be good to work on them during the bye week. You know, you got to steal reps for sure. I'm sure we'll have something in the summer at some point. We'll do it. But I think that's a year-to-year deal, you know, based on when you play them during the season.
Anything else? Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.